Hello friends and welcome to today's episode. A female police officer and her team go looking for a little girl who calls 911 to say that her mother won't wake up. When the officer bursts into her house that night, things go from bad to worse. The police station was busier than usual that day because they were looking into a murder. All of the helplines were full with calls from all over the city going to different emergencies. Then a little girl made a strange phone call. 911 was the problem. The dispatcher answered while there was an eerie silence in the background. Then the receiver made a loud wheezing sound. "I'm hungry. My mom does not stay awake all day." A little girl spoke while she was crying. "What are you doing?" "I don't know. Mommy told me to call 911 if I'm in trouble," the girl said, sounding scared about something. Then the dispatcher asked the girl for more information about where she was. "Take a deep breath and tell me your name." "Maggie." "Maggie, can you tell me your address?" Maggie told the dispatcher where she used to live after a long silence, but she didn't know where she was now. Love, compassion, and miracles will lift up a kind heart that reaches down to help other people. "Maggie, can you tell me about your current location? Can you describe it?" Even though the little girl didn't know the address, she could show the officer where she was by what she was wearing. "Outside, I can see big grey houses. A big angry dog is barking. There are trees and a broken gate." "Okay, Maggie, you can stay where you are. Help is on the way right away." The information was then given to Officer Nancy, who is 34 years old, and her team. They left right away to find the girl and went to the first address she gave them. The police went to the address and looked around for things that matched what the girl had said, but they couldn't find anything. "Is anyone there?" Nancy knocked, but no one opened the door. She looked through the window and saw that the inside was dark and dirty. It looked like it hadn't been lived in for a long time. Nancy then asked around and found that a man, his wife, and a little girl named Maggie used to live there as a family of 3. "Where are they right now?" A man told Nancy. "No, officer. Since Mr. Jakes died in an accident 6 months ago, his wife and daughter have had a hard time making ends meet. Since they couldn't pay the rent, the landlord kicked them out. I don't know where they live, but a friend told me she saw them in a poor area 12 miles from here." Nancy used the clues to find her way to that place. The sky was getting darker, and to make matters worse, there was no electricity in the area. "Hush, wait a minute." Nancy told a fellow officer to be quiet when she heard a dog barking far away from where they were. She remembered Maggie talking about a dog that was always barking near her. Nancy told her team, "That must be it. Let's go that way." They did as she said and came to a small run-down house. Nancy turned on a flashlight on her phone to see better. Near the window, she saw the shape of a person. When she looked closely, she saw a little girl crying and waving for help. A stray dog kept barking outside and ran at the police when they came. Nancy quickly grabbed a rock and threw it at the dog, which ran away. Then she kicked the door open and went inside, not knowing what else might be there. "Hey, it's okay, it's okay. Don't cry," Nancy told Maggie, who ran to her crying. It's okay, don't cry." The girl seemed very sad. She kept saying, "I'm hungry. Mommy hasn't woken up all day. She's sleeping," over and over again. Nancy took Maggie out to the car and put her in it. "Give her some cookies, please. I'll be back in a minute," she told her team and went back inside to where Maggie's mother was. She looked for the woman everywhere in the house, but she was nowhere to be found. As Nancy kept looking, she found a basement door. When she walked in, Maggie's mother was passed out on the floor. Nancy ran to the scene and tried to wake the woman up by touching her, but all she felt was a cold body. Maggie's mom was no longer alive. "Officers, quick, get in here." Nancy freaked out and called the police and social services right away. After a few minutes, an ambulance came and took the woman's body away to have an autopsy done. Nancy didn't know how to tell Maggie because she thought her mom was asleep and didn't know how to tell her. How will I tell her that her mother has died? Nancy was curious. "Mommy, where do they want to take my mom? Mommy, wait!" Maggie ran after the emergency vehicle. Nancy stopped, pulled her close, and tried to make her feel better. "Little one, don't worry about Mommy. Listen to me and be a good girl." "No, I'd rather go see my mom. Leave me." "Little one, Mommy will be back soon. You'll stick around until then, right? Maggie started to cry as she held on tightly to her little teddy bear. When social services showed up a few minutes later, they told Nancy that the girl would be sent to a foster home. The cop didn't like the idea for some reason, and it hurt her even more to think about how 5-year-old Maggie would react when she found out her mother was dead. No, I'm gonna take the kid home tonight. She needs to clean up, eat and relax. Tomorrow I'll take her to the shelter. Even though Nancy knew about the risks, she took Maggie home. Oh my God, sweetheart, who is this? When Nancy's husband, Jacob, answered the door, he was shocked to see Nancy holding a sleeping Maggie in her arms. Honey, I will tell you everything, but not right now. I'm tired. Can we first eat? And I found the body of her mother in the basement. Nancy told Jacob. We still don't know how she died. Is she aware of that? No, I'm not sure what to say to her. She still thinks that her mother in the hospital is doing fine. When she finds out the truth, it will break her heart. Poor thing, but how long are we going to keep her? Jacob asked Nancy when she had the strange idea. Maggie went to sleep that night. Honey, I was just thinking, why don't we get a dog named Maggie? Jacob asked Nancy. We've been trying to get pregnant for a long time. I'm not sure what's wrong with my body. The tests are fine and there are no problems, but I still can't get pregnant. In the end, Nancy and Jacob couldn't have a child for a few years. They tried everything to get pregnant, but nothing worked. At one point, Nancy even gave up on the idea of having children and started focusing all of her attention on her career. She was always sad and tired, and she thought she would never be able to have a child. Even if it was just for a few hours, being with Maggie made her feel better. Look at her, honey. She's a little angel who needs love and support from her parents. She will be put up for adoption, and a couple from out of the blue will take her in. We should take her in. She is such a beautiful little miracle. How do you feel? Jacob thought about what Nancy had said as he looked at Maggie, who was sound asleep in the middle of them. He felt that her innocence and presence filled the hole in their lives, and he realized that this was the happiness he had been looking for his whole life. He didn't care that Maggie wasn't his own biological child. He thought that love and affection were what made a family, not genes. Jacob agreed to the adoption, but the next big problem was how Maggie would react when she saw the funeral for her mother. The following day, Nancy left Maggie at the foster home and said she'd be back soon. 2 days later, she took Maggie to the funeral for her mother. As Nancy led Maggie to the coffin of her mother, she started to feel nervous. She didn't know how to tell the little girl that her mother had died of a heart attack, which was what the autopsy report said. Honey, don't go anywhere. Isn't it amazing how quiet this place is? She tried to get Maggie's attention away from something else. Yes, there are butterflies and flowers everywhere, and lights. And why do they have these crosses? What is inside that black box? Maggie didn't know that her mother's dead body was inside a coffin. Sweetheart, sometimes when God loves us too much and wants to protect us too much, He invites us to live with Him forever in His house in heaven. What? A home in heaven? Maggie exclaimed. Yes, sweetie. Who took Mommy? I would like to meet her. Honey, your mom has gone to live with God. She told me to take care of you. When you're big, you'll know everything. Nancy's heart broke because she couldn't tell a young Maggie more. As she hugged the girl tightly, tears kept coming out of her eyes. She knew it was time to make the next most important choice of her life. A few months later, Jacob and Nancy got a dog named Maggie. To celebrate their happiness, they threw a big party for their friends and family. Jacob made a toast as people laughed all around him in the party room. I thought the day I met Nancy was the best day of my life, he said. I was wrong though. I was happiest when I saw my wife holding a sleeping baby who I thought was a miracle. She asked me, honey, can we take care of her? I couldn't say I didn't like being a dad. Cheers to my 3-person happy family. No, honey, wait, not 3. Jacob was shocked when Nancy cut him off. She gave him an envelope with a positive pregnancy test and told him, we're going to be a happy little family of 4. Jacob couldn't believe what he was seeing, and he really was the happiest person on earth. The answers to Nancy's prayers were beautiful and came at the right time. Everyone, a happy little family of 4. Jacob made a toast while tears of happiness poured out of his eyes. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for more amazing stories.